Over the last week, I went through and watched every single Nightmare on Elm Street movie. I've loved Freddy Krueger since I was a kid, and they're some of my favorite childhood movies to rewatch. It's also my favorite horror movie franchise, so after watching them all again, I thought, why not rank them? The worst in the franchise is easily the 2010 remake. It's boring, it's filled with jump scares, and doesn't have one original bone in its body. Number 8 is Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. This movie is just one giant cartoonish farce, and it feels really cheap. Maybe the worst ending in the whole franchise. I appreciate them trying a fully comedic tone, but it's not funny, it's just annoying. And number 7 is Freddy vs. Jason. Grew up with this one, and it is the most awkwardly 2000s movie ever. The main cast is weak, and the main story is bad. It does have a serious yet schlocky tone that I do think fits these two characters well, and there's lots of solid moments, especially visually. The number 6 spot is Nightmare on Elm Street 4: The Dream Master. I loved this one a lot as a kid, but I ended up liking it a little bit less on this rewatch. I think Alice is a really boring protagonist, and this is the first movie where I felt like there was way more silly moments than scary ones. It is a lot of fun, I just wish there was a little bit more going on under the surface, like there is in 5. Speaking of Nightmare on Elm Street 5: The Dream Child is the number 5 spot. The themes of parenthood are surprisingly well done, and the idea of your baby having dreams is a great idea. Part 5 also makes Alice a more interesting and dynamic character. There are still some silly moments like Super Freddy, and literally my boyfriend said aloud during the ending, "What the fuck is going on?" But I warmed up to this one a lot. My 4th favorite is Nightmare on Elm Street 2: Freddy's Revenge. I love that Freddy is basically the monster that wants to come out of our main character, leading to it basically being a body horror movie. It can get really campy and really queer. Check out the documentary Scream Queen if you haven't already. It keeps Freddy Krueger really scary and threatening too. Sometimes it gets cheesy, sometimes it gets weird, and that's what's kind of charming about it. At number 3, I have Nightmare on Elm Street 3: The Dream Warriors. I love the mental hospital setting, and I love this cast of characters. I love that Freddy in this one is a metaphor for mental health and mental illness. Probably the best Freddy Krueger kills in the entire series too. My only issue with this one is I felt like the ending sometimes is a bit of a cop-out. At number 2, I have New Nightmare. This was my favorite one as a kid. I watched this one probably 50 times. My hot take is that Wes Craven did not perfect meta horror with Scream. He did it with New Nightmare. Freddy is back to being terrifying and daunting in this one. I personally love the more demonic makeup in this installment too. New Nightmare feels hopeless because it's not a movie anymore. It's real life. So real life horrors end up plaguing our main character like earthquakes and a stalker. Freddy Krueger is just this next manifestation of evil that has been around for centuries. I love that idea. My favorite in the franchise, though, is the 1984 original. 40 years later, and this hasn't aged one bit, in my opinion. It was the original one that just made the concept of dreaming terrifying. It has the most memorable moments out of the entire franchise for me. Freddy coming through the wall, Tina going through the back alley, Tina getting dragged up the walls, Johnny Depp getting pulled into his bed. Literally so many great moments. Freddy Krueger is at his most menacing and terrifying in the first one as well. Nancy is an amazing and urgent protagonist. It's got a great pace, it's a well-told story, it's just kind of a perfect horror movie. When people ask me, what's a good introductory horror movie to get someone into horror if they haven't seen one before? And I always say the original Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. You just can't beat it.